So what we're going to be learning about in this lesson is very important for your quiz. So please make sure that you're paying attention and also focusing along, because today we're going to be talking about collision theory and the things that affect essentially collision theory. So some reactions happen very slow while some proceed very quickly. So let's watch this video, for example. So as we can see that she is using methane gas and bubbling it through a very soapy watered mixture. So is a reaction happening here? No, not really. But as she, lifts it up and, has a student light it on fire, the reaction happens very, very quick. So some reactions do happen quickly while other reactions happen very slowly. Okay, so for many reactions, the start of reaction, each reactant has the greatest concentration, which we know based off of what we learned about with rates of reactions, essentially, that at the very beginning of a reaction, you have the concentration of the reactants at its highest point. So therefore, the rate of reaction of it is at its fastest. As the reaction proceeds, the concentration of the reactants decreases, and therefore also does the rate of reaction, because if you're decreasing the amount of reactants you have, therefore the rate of reaction will also decrease as well. So one of the reactants has been used up, the rate becomes 0, and the reaction stops. When we say used up, we mean essentially when the reaction has established or has come to equilibrium. So how fast a reaction proceeds is just another way to describe the words of rate. To demonstrate this, we are going to listen to a song about rates of reactions. I'm going to try to link this video in. And so pause this video and then watch the one that says Chemistry Music Video 2022, rates of reactions. And then in your notes, I want you to answer the following questions. Why would we want to control the rate of reaction? What are the 5 factors that can affect the rate of reaction that you spotted in the video? And how could we measure the rate of reaction in an experiment? Because there are many ways for us to do that. So go ahead, pause this video, go ahead and watch that really funny song video. Try to watch it all the way through because it talks about the many ways that the rate of reaction can increase. Oh, actually it's showing. Okay, never mind. Just watch it in this.
Engineers have a great big need to control chemical reaction speed. Faster snow, which is to be their fate. How can we change the reaction rate? Reacting molecules to collide. Angle and energy will decide if the reaction will proceed at last, and if that reaction will be slow or fast. It's rate of reaction. Reactants for products at a certain speed. It's rate of reaction. How do we get it to serve our needs? Add or remove some steps. Make more collisions or less. Slow down or speed it on up. Some reactions happen way too fast. They can end in an explosive blast. To slow it down, you can add some steps. Use an inhibitor, then rate is less. Lower concentration or the temperature. Fewer collisions over time occur. Lower pressure if you have a gas. Less surface area for solid mass. It's rate of reaction. Reactants for products at certain speeds. It's rate of reaction. How do we get it to serve our needs? Add or remove some steps. Make more collisions or less. Slow down or speed it on up. If a reaction is too slow for you, here are a couple of things to do. Add a catalyst reaction running really smoothly. Make more collisions happen over time. Concentration and temperature increase is fine. Raise the pressure on your gaseous friends, or crush a solid, you will meet your ends. It's rate of reaction. Reactants for products at a certain speed. It's rate of reaction. How do we get it to serve our needs? It's rate of reaction.
All right, so you get the kind of gist off of that. So, in order to react, particles must collide with each other. When they do collide with each other, according to collision theory, they have to collide in the correct orientation and have sufficient energy in order for the reactants to essentially make informed products. So, in order for them to make products, they have to hit each other at a certain kind of aspect and point. And then they also need to make sure that they have enough energy. If we were to just take two people and thrust them into each other, they will not be able to essentially react or change limbs with one another or anything like that. I know it's probably funny that I said that. I'm sorry. But when we're able to essentially bump them into one another, they're not going to react because they don't have sufficient enough energy to cause any damage if they're just bumping into each other. Now, if we essentially take a motorcyclist and then crash them into a person, then we're going to have some injuries possibly happen. So think of it that way. You need to have sufficient enough energy, and then also they need to be able to hit each other in the correct orientation in order for the reaction to happen. If we make more collisions happen, then the rate of reaction will increase. So ways to do this essentially is by essentially increasing the surface area if we have a solid. Now, if we just have a powder of cornstarch, it's not going to easily light, but if we blow cornstarch and make it spread out and have more particles, cornstarch is flammable. So therefore it's going to have higher collisions, more frequency in order to ignite. The video clearly indicates the way that we need to increase the concentration. If you increase the concentration, you have more particles. You have more particles, more likelihood for essentially the particles to collide and therefore react. Pressure for gases, you increase the pressure. The pressure is going to, essentially mean that the particles are going to move faster and essentially collide more. If we have a gas, you increase the temperature, you're increasing the kinetic molecular theory, and therefore more collisions will happen. And then again, adding a catalyst is essentially making less steps for you to get from point A to point B and allows more collisions to occur and assists and helps out reactions going from reactants to products. So here we're going to go through every single one. So concentration. The acid particles are moving at random. As you increase the concentration of the acid, there are more acid particles in the same amount of volume. Therefore, there's a greater chance of the acid particles colliding and reacting. So in this example, I have acid particles within here in a marble chip. If I increase the concentration of the acid particles, we're going to increase the rate the marble chip decomposes. Temperature. If we increase the temperature, you're having more kinetic theory added to those particles, and when we're increasing kinetic molecular theory, the more energy the particles have, the faster they move. So at slower temperatures, the particles aren't moving that much. There's barely going to be any collisions. But if we warm up the reaction mixture, we're going to have more collisions, and then therefore we're going to have a higher rate of reaction because of it. Pressure, again, gaseous molecules have and move in the same amount of space, but if we increase the pressure on the container, the gaseous particles have less space to move around because we are essentially decreasing the volume, going all the way back to unit 2. Increasing the pressure decreases the volume, which means less space for the particles to move, more collisions happening. Therefore, if we increase the pressure of a gas, we're therefore increasing the rate of reaction. So, when the pressure of a gas is increased, the molecules of the gas are forced closer together. This effectively increases the concentration of the gas. So when we're talking about concentration of the gas particles, and the volume that they take up, if we increase the pressure, we're decreasing the volume, which therefore means the concentration of the gas particles, in quotation marks, increases. So, therefore, increasing the pressure of a gas therefore has the same effect as increasing the concentration in a solution, and therefore will increase the rate of reaction within a gaseous phase. So, increasing pressure of a solution has a very limited effect. Let's go all the way back to unit 1. If we're trying to increase the pressure of a liquid, nothing's going to happen. So essentially, if you're increasing the pressure of the liquid, nothing will happen to the rate. We're talking about a liquid. A liquid's not affected by the increase of pressure. Gases are, solids no, liquids no. So if I ask you, hey, I have a liquid that has a concentration of 1 mole DM-3 of hydrochloric acid and I'm reacting with marble chips, if I increase the pressure, what will happen to the rate? Nothing. Nothing will happen to the rate of reaction because liquids are not affected by pressure. Only gases are. So make sure that you are aware that if we increase gas pressure, rate of reaction increases. If we're increasing the pressure on a liquid or a solution, nothing happens. So when you hear the word catalyst, there's probably not many things that you can think of that have catalyst besides maybe catalytic converter or stuff like that. So, Berzelius was the first one to use actually the term of catalyst and discovered what a catalyst does. He did this when he added something into hydrogen peroxide in order to break it down quicker because he wanted the production of hydrogen and oxygen gas to essentially, see how reactive they were. So he did this by adding essentially a catalyst into hydrogen peroxide to break it down into hydrogen and oxygen gas. Now, I know this is so sad. If I was there with you right now, I would show you the demonstration of elephant's toothpaste. Like, I wanted to show you this demonstration, but I'm not there with you. So sadly, you're not going to see the demonstration of elephant's toothpaste. If you have no idea what elephant's toothpaste is, go on to YouTube or TikTok and look in the search engine and just type in elephant's toothpaste. You'll see someone do it. It's really cool. It's very fun. It's hydrogen peroxide, soap, and a catalyst. It shows you how essentially hydrogen peroxide does break down in those brown bottles over time, but we increase this breaking down process into like oxygen and water very quickly by the addition of a catalyst. Very fun, very cool. Highly encourage you to go investigate and research and to watch it. So, how does a catalyst work? A catalyst increases the rate of reaction without being used up in the process. So, essentially, if we wanted to react hydrogen and oxygen gas in a vessel, we would add a catalyst in order for that process to happen. Now, they are extremely flammable, but let's say we have no flame around. If we just inserted a catalyst, it would allow them to react in order to make water. So catalysts are substances which increase the rate of reaction of a chemical reaction without being consumed by it themselves. They usually do this by providing an alternative route or pathway, which essentially can create an intermediate for the reaction to lower the activation energy. Now, for those of you taking higher level, we talk about rate orders and rate of reactions and how those shift with a catalyst and formations of intermediates. For those people just taking SL, just know that, sometimes an intermediate is formed and then that intermediate immediately reacts to therefore make products. That's all you really need to do. So how would using a catalyst assist in aiding in an industrial process? Well, we do use it a lot of the time in order to make certain products like hydrogen peroxide. We use it. Ammonia in fertilizers, we use the Haber process and we use catalysts for that because it has a very, very low energy in order to make ammonia. And several other products. I may get an extra credit opportunity if you tell me where a catalyst is used in the industrial process of your everyday life. But let me think when we get back to school whether I want to actually have that extra credit since I already gave a big whopping 6 points on the previous lab report. So catalysts do lower the temperatures and pressures are often required in these reactions. So lower temperatures and pressures with the catalyst are needed because then you're essentially using the catalyst in the reaction. So it reduces the energy demand needed in order for, not to have high temperatures and high pressures. Different reactions can be used with better atom economy, thus reducing waste. So we're able to essentially take that waste that we had formed put it back and get our reactants back in order to use it again. Lower production costs. So if we have a catalyst, it's going to be more costly effective because we're not heating things up, we're not increasing the amount of things that we're using, et cetera, et cetera. And catalysts can be used to generate specific products. So if you want a very specific product out of a chemical reaction, using a catalyst does help us with that. So measuring rates. Measuring the rate of reaction can be taken into account by essentially the volume of gas that's produced. So if we're essentially having a reaction happen and we need to measure the rate of reaction, we can take the volume of gas that's being made, divide it by the volume of gas being made, divided by the volume of what is in the full container in order to get the rate divided by the time. The change in mass, which I told you in the rate of reaction video, if you're having a gas be produced, this is the best way to figure out how the rate of reaction is happening because you're able to do the change of mass over time to see how that affects the rate of reaction. You are going to have to do a lot of math in order to get the grams into essentially mole DM minus 3, but I can show you how to do that in a rate of reaction very easily. A color change, so if you're noticing something going from clear to blue, like the iodine clock reaction, the moment that color changes, you're able to measure the rate of reaction and the formation of precipitate, which will go on with our lab. You will have a color change and a formation of precipitate, a solution becoming opaque, allows you to determine the rate of reaction. However, this is all dependent on the reaction actually happening and you noticing it. So there's a lot of human error with this, with the last two, with the color change and the formation of a precipitate, because it's visible with your eyes to measure the rate of reaction and how fast it's happening. Not essentially you determining it by just putting a flask on a balance and seeing how the mass changes over time. It's actually you visually seeing, using a stopwatch and stopping it. So there's an exit ticket. I'm not going to have you guys do it, but essentially that is the lovely video. I'm going to post another video on Schoology for you to get to see how all of these things are affected in collision theory. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Okay.